The biker's palm struck the old man's face with a crack that froze the diner. Coffee cups trembled in midair. Forks stopped halfway to lips. And for a moment, even the neon clock above the counter seemed to hesitate. The old man didn't flinch. He simply adjusted his glasses, the ones with a thin crack across the left lens, and looked back at the biker with calm eyes. The kind of eyes that had seen jungles burn, friends fall, and flags lowered over silent graves. One moved. The waitress stood frozen, gripping the coffee pot until her knuckles whitened. A few customers looked away, pretending to read menus. That suddenly didn't matter. The man's name was Harold King, 81 years old, a Korean War veteran. His hands trembled not from fear, but from age, and from the memories that lived there. The world saw an old man in a worn jacket. They didn't see the soldier who once crawled through mud carrying a wounded brother in arms. They didn't see the father who stood graveside, saluting the folded flag handed to him when his wife passed. Harold had come to this small roadside diner for one thing: a quiet breakfast before visiting the memorial outside town. It was his ritual every Sunday. But this Sunday, a man in a leather vest decided Harold's seat near the window belonged to him. And when Harold didn't move, the biker decided to make a point. The room felt smaller, tighter. Every second stretched thin. Harold said nothing. He just sat, shoulders straight, eyes steady. Silence can be heavier than words. Years ago, Harold had learned that the strongest men don't shout, they endure. And endure he did. The biker muttered something under his breath, something crude, enough to make the waitress lip tremble, and walk to the counter to order. But even as he smirked, Harold's hand moved, slow, deliberate, to his pocket. Not for a weapon, just for a worn, old cell phone. He pressed one button. No words spoken, just a single call sent. Nobody noticed. Yet, Harold returned the phone to his pocket and took a sip of his coffee, the red mark on his cheek glowing against his pale skin. His breathing was slow. His thoughts were not. He remembered teaching his son, decades ago, that you never raise your voice when you can raise your standard instead. 22 minutes later, the air outside began to rumble. It wasn't thunder. It was the synchronized hum of diesel engines, 3 military trucks rolling in tight formation. They stopped outside the diner. From the lead truck stepped a tall man in army fatigues. His stride was purposeful, his jaw set. This was Captain Daniel King, Harold's only son. Behind him, soldiers dismounted silently, forming a line along the diner's front window. Their presence was calm, not aggressive, but unmistakable. The biker turned at the sound of boots on tile. His smirk faltered. Daniel didn't look at him first. He looked at his father, scanning the mark on Harold's cheek, then meeting his eyes. No words passed. None were needed. Only then did Daniel speak, quietly, evenly. "My father taught me something, sir. That a man's strength is measured by how he treats those who can't fight back. Today, you failed that measure." The biker shifted uncomfortably. Around the diner, chairs scraped as customers stood, not in fear, but in respect. The waitress stepped forward, placing a fresh cup of coffee in front of Harold without asking. Daniel didn't order the biker to leave. He didn't have to. The weight of silent honor in that room was more than the man could bear. He walked out alone, his footsteps sounding smaller than when he'd entered. Harold took another sip of his coffee. Outside, soldiers stood at ease, waiting. Inside, the diner felt different, warmer, united by an unspoken truth. Respect isn't given because of age, Harold thought. It's given because of how you carry the years you've lived. The trucks pulled away minutes later, leaving only the soft clink of cutlery and the quiet pride that lingers when justice is served without a single shout. And for everyone in that diner, one thing was certain. Sometimes, the loudest power in the room is silence. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember the value of respect. Comment where you're watching from. I read them all. And if you want more true tales of quiet heroes, join this community. Hit subscribe, not just for the stories, but for the reminders we all need that honor never grows old.